that being said, we're gonna move on to the next show we're talking about. And I'm gonna be
The
honest,
bear, the 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 bear. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
JJ. So JJ brought this up to me off the mic, and we're just gonna do this right now since you're so excited. So you can go ahead and make your case if you want to.
My honest opinion, the bear was good when season 1 dropped, right? I thought season 1 was nice. I even started to like Richie. It turns out that he's a really good character, and your original impressions of him were very incorrect, right?
Hmm.
So season 1 was a banger. The show shined in its small character moments, showing that people cared about each other, showing the dimensionality and the intelligence and the care behind each of the characters. And in season 2, it is thrown away. The only reason that the plot is going on in season 2 is that everybody's an idiot except Cicero. Like,
Wait,
what do you like?
remind me who Cicero is. This the uncle, right?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
right? Like, everybody is sympathetic to some degree. Like, you understand their motivations, right? Like, you now you can see that Richie, despite being right? He cares. You can see that like the Christmas episode even is like okay, the Christmas episode was in season 2, very stressful and also really, really well made. But like that, I would say is an example of like immaculate characterization. It really did feel like a Christmas with the family. Nobody could get away. You can see like the motivations. Cicero's clearly not a bad guy. Richie's like trying to, he cares about his family. He's not even like trying to be like, oh yeah, I can get my wife back. None of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like everyone's an idiot. Why is Carmi just blowing off his responsibilities and not talking to Sydney, right? When he has a restaurant to open up, he can literally just tell Claire, "Hey, I'll come by, but like first I got to make sure that I take care of this." And she's going to understand. She is also a working professional.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? Why is every single conflict and incident in this season dependent on your inability to communicate, your inability to prioritize, your inability to be an adult? Right? First season, everybody's grown. Second season, the main character is literally a child, and we are focused on him. When did he become 13? It's like, and then season 3, the same thing continues. Literally, the plot exists because Carmi is making avoidable mistakes over and over and over again. And it's not like, oh, this is a cycle sort of thing. You can literally just not do this.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to not be an idiot for 5 seconds, and we know that you're capable of it. We know that you can do it. You showed us you can do it. So what happened? Did you play football in the off season? Do you have CCE now? Are you Antonio Brown?
Wow. I do have to say I agree with you on season 2 because I feel like season 1 he was very determined to like make the restaurant work and to like take over and make it better. And I feel like with season 2, in my mind, I thought, oh, we're just fixing up the place. We're just making it, better. But now we're making it an upscale restaurant. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, like we could try that, yeah. And I liked seeing, Sydney go to different restaurants and talk to different like restaurateurs and like get information and like try different recipes. I thought that was really great and a lot of fun. But with Carmi getting so like enthralled with Claire, it felt very strange and very different because like I understand, he liked Claire when he was young, and he didn't really have that experience of like having a girlfriend because he was working all the time in New York, and like this is a chance where he could like reconnect with her, but it's not like she's like going away or it's like she's dying. Like she's still gonna be here after the restaurant opens. So
like he will literally understand. Like he's abandoned his commitments. He's literally left Sydney hanging, twisting in the wind multiple times, and that's supposed to be your chef de cuisine, bro. Like
yeah.
I lock in, bro. Lock in. Right? The only part of the restaurant that actually turns a profit is Ibra's sandwich window. And like, can you imagine your beloved sandwich joint, right? Like imagine you're in the neighborhood, your beloved sandwich joint, right? You grew up going there, right? There was a kid, he used to be running around the shop. Now he's come back and he wants to gentrify it.
It's also very interesting because like what restaurant is like upscale at the night and like has a sandwich window in the middle of the afternoon? Like that doesn't even make any. That doesn't really work. Like that. I never heard of a
Hmm.
restaurant that works like that.
I mean, honestly, I think that like I've definitely been to some places that have like completely different setups between like lunchtime and how they're set up for the dinner crowd. So like that, I don't think it's like impossible. I've definitely like seen it. Am I gonna name any places off rip? No, I'm a notorious restaurant gatekeeper. If you are on DM terms with me, you can find out about the places. But if you're not, I'm sorry, you're not even hungry for real. Like, why are you asking me about this? You don't even need to eat. Like, me personally, I think that I would just invest the resources into cooking at home. It'll save you a boatload over the long term. So like really, it's just like that sort of vibe, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't just be taking just anywhere there.
Okay, okay, okay,
Sorry,
okay.
sorry. But like, yeah, no, I really do think that it has gotten to the point where the entire plot rests on contrivances. Like there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief that I'm willing to entertain for the sake of the story. But when it's all another show that had this problem actually was Cobra Kai, right? Like it got to the point where all of the tension and drama, well, almost all of it, could be resolved if the two main characters sat down and had lunch. All they had to do was act in a normal adult way, sit down and have a conversation, and it just did not happen.
Hmm.
And um, like it's I just can't stand it when like a show establishes that it's like this is a tight show. Also, you know what happened actually? The Bear got successful, and then they like laid off a lot of their like writers and brought in a more established crowd.
Oh,
Yeah,
yikes.
yeah. So like, just the fresh ideas. I think there are like less of them around. Like, this is what happens when you take a character and little moment driven show and you like just turn it more normal. I think.
I don't think it's making it more normal. I think it's making it more palatable to a certain audience. Because The Bear season one felt very much like the working man's comedy, like the working man's show. Because it is stressful and it is like kind of exhaustive to watch at times, but it's a fairly good show. And it's a show that depicts like the real nature of what it's like to work in kitchen, like what it's like to work in the back of house. And then you watch season two and season three, and it feels very much like a rags to riches story, which there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. Like that works. I feel like the Bear does a very good job in like terms of like some of the writing, but I feel like there are some parts of season two that go against the like thesis of season one. Like when Richie is at Olivia Colman's restaurant, I think it's called like Eva
Hmm.
or like Echo or something like that. Um,
Something like that. Yeah.
he's spending time like cleaning forks, and of course he's frustrated by it because he's frustrated with the fact that Carmi's the owner of the restaurant. He feels like Carmi doesn't like want him around, or Carmi doesn't like really respect him or properly
Hmm.
utilize him, and he wants to help the restaurant in a way. But I feel like Richie's identity was so tied to the Bear as it used to be, because it's kind of like a fixer upper. There are problems left and right, and you can't fix everything, but you can put patches on things and make it presentable enough. And that's Richie
Yeah.
to a T. So with them completely like making it new and making it whole, he kind of felt like he didn't have a place there. But in Forks, he does learn about hospitality. He learns about the quality, like how you working and you showing up to work and giving your all to your job can improve your life. And I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
like that's great to a certain extent. But for a lot of high end restaurants, those servers, those cooks, those waiters that are giving their all to their job and working these terrible hours do not make a lot of
Hmm.
money. The food that they serve is ridiculously expensive. And I do have to say, in that episode, it was very sweet. There were some heartwarming stories. They
Yeah.
let everybody
Absolutely.
eat in the restaurant for free. Like, that's great. That's awesome. But I
Hmm.
also was when I remember rewatching The Bear because I did an episode reviewing it, and Richie was reading this book on hospitality, and I looked up the book, and the guy who wrote the book was also a guest star in season three, but this guy also had a restaurant, I believe in New York, where he had people working near the end of the pandemic for free. in the restaurant, as in he wasn't paying them. And he's a multi-millionaire. So you have a working class man reading a book about hospitality by a multi-millionaire restaurateur who didn't even pay his own working staff. And that's something that goes against the full thesis of season one, which is working class people trying to work together and form community in the restaurant because they're all struggling and they're all falling on hard times. And yet, in season two, we're all cozying up with millionaires. Like,
Yeah, like it just it. I hate to say it lost the plot, but like it's like I'm not against the show starting as one thing and becoming a completely different show either, right?
mm,
Like that's also okay. That's a thing that happens. It's whatever. It's that like you've changed the show and you've also changed the people. And yes, Richie wears suits now, and it turns out that he really just didn't want to be like, like he cared the entire time. It's very obvious that he cared, right? And now he wears suits, I guess. But good heavens, it's just everybody else is working hard to make this possible, and Carmi's like, nah, I'm gonna go and drive a Claire. Yeah, I deal with it.
yeah, it did feel very out of character for Carmi to like suddenly shift to his interest to Claire rather than focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the restaurant. And like I said before, it's clear that he didn't really have like that much of an adolescence or like that much freedom,
Yeah,
growing up, which I can understand. But, the Claire storyline felt unnecessary. And I know a lot of people have said this before, and like, no hate to Molly Gordon because she's a great actor, but the Claire storyline did not benefit the story or the show in any way. And bringing her up in season three is also not needed either because like what is Homegirl gonna do really? You know what I mean? Like really,
yeah. Like
they brought her in so that Carmen would have something to be sad about in season three.
they
You know?
brought her into the. Oh, I also really did like there was no like romance plot in season one. Like, I can't stand poorly done romance plots. Like,
Hmm.
I think that the way that it was handled was also a complete disservice to Claire as a character because she's basically just there for Carmen to be distracted, and like she's clearly not like that. Like she's not dropping ultimatums or anything. Like she's like the most yeah she'll let you cook romance character ever, and like I cannot stand. I really just don't like poorly done romance. Like if it doesn't have to feel unearned, right? Like have you watched Disenchantment?
I think I watched the first season.
The first season is the worst season. I'm not gonna lie, but like there's like characters like Beam and Moore, and they like get together at the end. Sorry if I spoiled that for you. Don't worry about it. It's an old show. It's fine. But like that was like, you know what? I think this is fine. This is earned. It's okay. But like people, but like I don't think that every single show needs to have a romance plot because I just think that they make things so much more predictable than they have to be. Like
Hmm.
I don't even hate I don't hate them conceptually, but they're like almost always done so the exact same way, and I'm like, really? Why? What do we gain from this?
Hmm.
What is the point? Like, it's notable when a show doesn't have like the love interest or anything, and then like once they walk into the show, I'm like, ugh, right? Like Carmi and Sydney are like very clearly coworkers, right? Like they care, like everybody cares about each other a great deal. There doesn't need to be like people can care about each other without being in love.
Hmm.
And it was like a really unique and important part of the story that I think was just like completely thrown away and also made the plot worse.
Yeah, I think that Claire I agree with you when it comes to like romantic storylines. I do wish there is. It's better when a romantic storyline is earned rather than just kind of like inserted into the story. And there
Yeah.
are a lot of fans of the show that want Carmi and Sydney to get together. And I was never really a fan of it. Not because I don't think that like black women should have like a love interest. That's not it at all. It's that from the very jump, Carmi is on a he is on the edge he is on the edge. It is not glory, guys. He's on the edge. Like, this guy is not all right. And a lot of people kept bringing up the scene where Sydney is like trying not to have a breakdown in the back, like outside, and Carmi's just staring at her, like fully staring at her, holding a plastic cup of water in his hand, looking like every single line cook guy you had a workplace crush on when you worked in the back of the house, but you really didn't like him at all. And it just felt, sometimes it feels like projecting. Sometimes I see what people mean, because like when you put it together in the edit, it's like, okay, I get it. You convinced me for a second. You know, like the scene in season 2 where they're both under the table and Carmi's like, I need you. Like, I need you. And it's like, oh, wow, that desperation is edging towards something not platonic. And I see it and I get it. But I feel like from season 1, the very jump, I felt like it's very unlikely that Carmi and Sydney will get together, because Sydney doesn't see Carmi in the way she admires him. But it's very clear that she moves out of admiration after he yells at her at the end of season 1. And yes, she decides to come back. Yes, she decides to come back to work there because she likes her job. But I think it's clear that ever since Carmi yelled at her, it's been in the back of her mind that, like, there's something up with this guy. I respect his work. I respect his vision. I respect his expertise. And I get that everybody looks at him as a genius, but I know him. I know who he is. And although he is a good guy, there are a lot of faults that make it very difficult to overlook it. And I feel like from season 3, you know, it's clear that because someone presented Sydney with the job offer in season 3, and she's thinking about, you know, should I stay or should I leave? Like, obviously the Bear is her family. She knows her very well. And could she go somewhere else and do very well there? Yes, of course she could. But, you know, whether she does that or not, we'll have to see season 4. And I'm a little worried that, like, she might leave. And honestly, if they do have Sydney go to another restaurant, if Io is not in the same amount of episodes as Jeremy, I'm not watching the show. I'm saying it right now. I'm not watching the show. I love all the actors. I love all the characters. But, like, Io is my girl for real. So,
you know, not to Dr. Johnson this, but she better be in the episodes. She better be in the episodes. She better be in the episodes.
Because she is kind of like the people's darling in a way. And she does still bring, like, a lot of relatability to the show, because, like, she's living in this apartment that she's like, you know, worried about paying rent. And her dad is like, you know, he loves her, but he's kind of like,
get a real job.
Like, listen, I know you're at the restaurant. I know you're doing your cooking thing, but, you know, is this, like, a strong idea? You know, when he asks her, do you trust Carmi? And she hesitates, that's really all you need to know. And I feel like season 3 shouldn't have been the wake-up call for people when they saw that Sydney and Carmi wasn't going to happen. I really feel like it was when they were under the table and Carmi said, I need you. And Sydney, she did not feel alleviated by that in any way. She actually looked more annoyed.
I mean, yeah, like, get it. Plus, there's also, please don't date your coworkers.
Don't do
Especially in the restaurant industry. Everybody does in the restaurant industry, but you really shouldn't be doing it. Don't do it.
Don't do it in any industry, especially if you are in any front-facing public role. Don't do it. S'il vous plaît.
Exactly.
Like, don't do it.
Like, I see that. I'm like, y'all sure y'all want that? Y'all want a coworker romance? Go talk to the person that you work with.
Sometimes it works. Like, there are people who do work with their spouses and it works, but sometimes it does not. So
don't recommend. I don't recommend.
Bear that in mind. Bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, I feel like we're good on the Bear.